Dennis,
Hmm? You didn't hear me? Yeah.
good day, everyone, and welcome once again to our first live channel. We are having our first live stream of the year, and I'll urge everyone to share the link, invite your friends to join as we interact with our brother who had 60,000 Canadian dollars in funding for his program in Canada. My good brother, you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
How have
And
you
thank
been?
you for the introduction. I'm doing well. How are you too?
Yeah, I'm also doing well. Okay, so a quick one. Would like to know your name, the school you are in currently, the program you are taking, and the level of the program.
Well, my name is Dennis Dankwa. The majority call me Dan or Kobe. I'm currently pursuing Master of Science in Bioresource Engineering at McGill University in Montreal, Canada.
Okay. Since when have you been in Canada?
I came to Canada in July of 2023.
Okay. And prior to relocating to Canada, what have you been doing in Ghana, or what were you doing in Ghana?
Well, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Let me see how best I could sum it up. Back in Ghana, I was working as an operations manager for Group Trans-Africana Limited, oil and gas company based in Tema. So
Okay.
before I relocated to Canada, yeah, I was working.
Okay. So, which high school did you finish in Ghana?
Oh, interesting. I'm an Accra. So anyone who knows what Accra means, I went to Achimota Senior High School, one of the
Oh,
best
that's great.
in the country. Yeah.
Okay. What of your university? Which particular university did you finish in Ghana?
I'm a technocrat. I graduated from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST.
And what did you study there?
I read bachelor's in environmental science.
Okay. If you don't mind, can you tell our viewers and our listeners what class you finished with back in Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology?
I finished with a second class upper. Um, they should have just added just a few points to give me a first class, but I graduated with an upper,
Okay,
which I
so
was very proud of.
in essence, you finished with a very strong upper.
Yes,
Do you mind if you can share the CWA with our listeners and our followers?
that's okay. I had 68, and KNUST back then, you are supposed to get like 70 for first class. Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know if
that
that
was
has
very
changed
close.
now. Yeah.
That was very, very
Yeah.
close. So, what motivated you to finish with a very strong CWA? Did you have this dream to study abroad, or you were just motivated to study very hard back in Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology?
Sincerely, I would say no. Back in our days in the university, it was you finish school and you do your national service. You are looking for opportunities to integrate yourself into the corporate world, or I would say the job market back in Ghana. So specifically, when I was doing in my undergrad days, I did not sincerely consider studying abroad. So that is what I would say. I wouldn't specifically say I was motivated by studying abroad opportunities. No, we heard a little about it back in our days, but for me specifically, that was not part of the path. So I don't want to go so much into why or so. But personally, that was not part of the path. I just wanted to finish school, finish with good grades as much as I can, make myself proud, make my parents or whoever was supporting or sponsoring me also proud.
Okay. Then where did the motivation come from to study abroad?
First, let me use this opportunity to thank Dr. Mahama. Dr. Mahama is at 37 Military Hospital. I shared the link with him, so I hope he'll be listening. Thank you very much, Dr. Mahama. I had the opportunity to do my national service at the 37 Military Hospital in Ghana after graduating from KNUST. It was there that we birthed the dream of studying abroad. So he was my supervisor during my national service days.
Okay.
And before he joined the army, he was a teaching assistant in UCC. And when he finished, he pursued his master's, then he joined the army. So when he interacted with me, saw how I worked, he looked at my grades from school and everything, and he was like, young man, don't sit in Ghana and waste your time. Start looking at opportunities elsewhere. You should be able to do a master's and even consider a PhD.
Okay.
So I was like,
So
Dr. Mama, please, where do I start? I have no idea about this. And he's like, you have to start from creating a CV. Do you have a CV? And I told him, oh, they taught us CV creation back in KUSC, but sincerely, I've forgotten. So yeah, he helped me. That is when the dream started.
okay. So shout outs to Dr. Mahama wherever he is. And I would also want to ask if he gave you suggestions as to countries you should look at, or you did your own research in terms of the countries you would like to study in when you were considering this journey.
At that time, I kind of like how he walked me through or he guided me. He was like, the whole idea is don't sit in Ghana and waste your time. Look for academic opportunities elsewhere and go and showcase what you can do to the world. So during those days, we were considering like schools across board. Where
Okay.
we researched together actually. So we're seeing opportunities in like Denmark, the UK, Japan, Spain, France, US, Canada was not specifically even part during those times. We're just looking at opportunities. We're largely focused on Europe because he schooled in the Netherlands. So I think back then our focus was more on Europe, and we explored some opportunities like the SI scholarships for Sweden. We looked at the Japanese MES scholarship, the KSGP scholarship in Korea. So yeah, we were just we broadened our scope and we're looking at different opportunities across board where I could fit in.
Okay. Then what then informed your decision to settle on Canada? And before settling on Canada, did you apply to schools in other countries as well?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I think my very first application was to University of Aberdeen in Scotland
Okay.
for I think a master's in environmental pollution, if my memory recalls correctly. Yeah, and I got admission, and then I was to secure some form of scholarship from the Ghana Scholarship Secretariat, and that was a whole brouhaha. Went through interview and everything, but in the end, I didn't get the opportunity. The system of who do you know or who knows you or this political charade.
I know,
So
right?
yeah, I didn't get it. It's like, yeah, Dennis, don't give up. Let us look at other opportunities elsewhere. So I applied to some schools in France. I applied to Korea. I was getting a lot of admission opportunities. This school in Sweden, Uppsala, and many others. The key thing we're looking for was the funding.
Okay.
We are not as privileged as many who would probably maybe sponsored by family or whatever. So you had to like chart your own path. So I
Okay.
became more focused on looking for opportunities where I wouldn't have to pay to be able to go to school or pursue my masters. So day in, day out, you learn new things as you continue to apply because you search different schools, you search every scholarship that comes on board, you want to try your hands, you want to put in an application. So you become so interested in these things and you keep on searching. So that was how I came to hear of Canada too. And one thing I would still appreciate was he was still guiding me through all these steps. Sometimes I'll see a school an opportunity. I'm like, Dr. Mama, I've studied. He said, oh, don't worry. Prepare your document, send it to me. Let me give it a review and let's try it. Yeah, don't stop. Just keep trying. One will always come true. I remember he shared with me the quote of Abraham Lincoln. Said, as for me, I'll prepare myself and one day my chance will come. So yeah,
That's
and
great.
we along this line, we came to hear about cold emailing
Okay.
and said, oh, at the schools in the US and Canada, you can use code emailing to be able to get a professor and you can go and do a research master's. Some schools in the UK and other areas are not like that. Some you can just apply and you'll be given the opportunity. Yeah. So we started to learn how to do this code emailing and stuff. And he was also a bit new to that. So it seems like we're all learning together during that period.
Okay.
And I started writing code emails to schools in Canada, in US. I got some opportunities in US, specifically like Loyola University, Indiana University, and all.
Okay.
But then the funding that was coming was probably, I would say, not enough. So yeah. Imagine you have to pay a total of $80,000 and you get a funding of $40,000. How do you fund the other $40,000?
Okay.
And during this too, we didn't know of stuff like the Empower and those things. I do believe if I heard of Empower back then, I would have used Empower to fund the remaining
That's
$40,000. I
the
should
Empower educational loan, right?
Yes, I should
Okay.
have been in probably Indiana University by now because that 40,000 scholarship I got from them was like, wow, I was so happy. Like I was finding ways to me see if I should even borrow money and just to be able to pay the remaining 40,000 and go. But we let that opportunity go also, and we kept on. So it was through this code emailing ahead of Canada. And after sending close to, I think in general, I sent a total of close like about 40 different code emails to different schools. And
In Canada and
maybe
US or in Canada?
I think I'll say both.
Okay. 40
As
code emails.
I think over. I can't count. I still have some. If I just type in my email, I'll see like series of them that I sent back then. And some you get responses, very good responses. Oh, when we get a project that matches your background, we will let you know. Some don't respond at all. It's part of the process. And then I got this particular one. Yeah.
Okay. Let's focus on Canada now. How many schools did you apply to in Canada?
In Canada, so it was Alberta. I think that was the school I was focusing on first because I did a certification program with them when I was in Ghana. So
Okay.
University of Alberta was the very first one, and then the second one was this McGill.
So you applied to only 2 schools in Canada?
For application, yes. But in terms of like reaching out to professors for opportunities, I sent out like emails to many schools in Canada. But for specifically in our field like this, you would have to get a supervisor's approval before you can do the
Okay.
application. So for application purposes, it was just the 2. But for in terms of like just trying to reach out to professors in different schools, it was many.
Okay, so there are several provinces in Canada, about 12 or 13 of them. What informed your decision to settle on McGill in Quebec? If you can share some insights.
Sincerely,
Because the reason why I'm asking this question is because the French is a challenge there, like it's a barrier, especially if you can speak the language. So,
yeah.
what informed your decision to settle on McGill in Quebec?
To be honest with you, I'll tell you, I didn't specifically research on where McGill is situated.
Okay.
When I got a professor at McGill, the approval, the very first thing I checked was rather the school. And McGill is one of the top 50 universities in the world. It is even considered Canada's Ivy League school. I'm like, wow, this is it for me. I'm going for it. So my focus was not specifically on where it was. It was after I got my admission, I was about to start preparation for my visa processes. Then I got to learn about McGill is in the French zone or the French demographic zone of Canada, and Montreal being that's one of the second best city in Canada after Toronto. I got to realize it was more French based, but they still have good culture integration. So there's still some English because the school is an English school situated in a French province.
Okay. So, talking about the admission process, what are the steps you took to put in the application. If you can outline the things you did for us so that our listeners can also learn a thing or two from. You mentioned
Um,
code emails, but before the code
yeah.
emails, like if you can take us through the admission process. Yeah.
Okay. So specifically, let me just make it a bit general, then I'll relate it to myself. If you want to
Okay.
study abroad, the steps pretty much become like what program do you want to study? And if you want to go to school A or school B, is school A or school B offering the program you want to study? So these are the questions you begin to ask yourself, then you research on. I want to
Okay.
study program A. Is this school offering it? If they are not offering it, are they offering other programs that are related to it? Even I think the thinking should even begin from what is my career goal?
Okay.
What do I want to do in
So,
future? That
so
will
the career
inform
goal is
what you
very
want to
important.
study.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Once you set your career goal and you know that, then you will now begin to understand what should I study to be able to achieve my career goal.
Okay.
So if I study A or B, it will take me to my career goal. So now that informs what you want to study. Now, after you get the information of what you want to study, then it now comes to where would you study it? You are currently probably you are in Ghana, you are in Nigeria, wherever you are in the world. Probably maybe they are even offering the same program there. Who knows? You understand? So it's not just
Okay.
about going to study abroad, but it is about understanding what you want to do, what you study to be able to achieve that, then where you study it.
Okay. So
Once you
in
have
essence,
these three questions,
I'm not trying
mhm,
to cut you, but in essence, you are saying if someone should, let's say, send me
yeah,
names of schools that I should apply, I shouldn't just jump onto the school's website, create an account, and start applying. But then I should follow these steps. Okay.
perfect.
Kindly
You
continue.
should follow a protocol. Everything has a plan and everything has a purpose. So you
Okay.
should first identify why am I even going to study? What am I going to study for? Because if you just follow the idea of, oh, someone has given me this school, I should apply, you just apply, get admission, and you come into the country, you finish the school and you don't know what to do with your life. So you have to like have some form of a plan.
Okay.
This is what I want to go and study for. Like I mentioned to you before, I was working before I decided to leave and come and study. So I definitely had like a purpose. I didn't just jump and say, oh, I'm leaving my work and just come and study. No. So you have a plan. So
Okay.
once you get these three important questions answered, now you can decide to now search for schools and the schools that offer the programs that you are looking out for. Most often, I hear people say, oh, a friend says I should apply to McGill University. Then I ask you, okay, why McGill University? What specific program? Someone can even mention a program and you actually look at McGill is not offering that program. Just because his friend is there, he also wants to go there. You understand? So
Okay.
you now have to first. So I often advise people to like make a list of about 5 different schools that are offering the program you want. Then you can take your time and review each of them, and then in the end, you select like your final 2 or 3. Then you do your applications to those schools.
Okay. So what do you think did the magic for you in terms of the code email? Did you
I would
just
say,
find the supervisor's email on the department's website and just sent an email, or you did a background check prior to emailing the supervisor? If you can share with us the approach you used to draft your code email in order to get the attention of the supervisor.
thank you very much. I would say experience is always the best teacher, as they say. I had been doing this for, well, I'll say quite several times, like trying to send code emails to different schools, different professors, and one, on many schools' websites, they've outlined how you should even send a code email to a professor. That is one. Then two, we are grateful for the resources that are being shared on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook by these academicians, where many of them post free resources on how you should even structure a code email to a professor. I
Okay.
was actually glued to my laptop or phone, most often looking at these stuff. So when sending every new code email, I sort of add like a new idea I learned from what someone has done.
Okay.
We often say the path to success is not just for one person. If it's a ladder, everyone can actually climb. So So there's nothing wrong to actually follow what someone has done that has worked. Let me share specifically how I did mine. I used some form of, like, I'll say, the orthodox way, not the general way that everyone goes. The opportunity that has brought me to McGill, I saw it on Twitter. So if you are someone that is interested in like academics or pursuing advanced studies, you should be following people that talk about academics, advanced studies, and all those. These are the things you should be following in your Twitter topics or even your Facebook or your LinkedIn. It shouldn't just be every day, just the fun stuff and the videos. No, you understand?
And
So I
just to add,
streamlined my. Mhm.
and just to add, on Twitter, you can actually streamline and get only educative content. So that's just
Perfect.
an addition. You can continue,
Yeah.
please.
So that's what I did. I had streamlined my Twitter feed to such that the things I was seeing was most often was about graduate school.
Okay.
So once I think back home, I was in Ghana, I was driving home, I was on the motorway, and I saw a tweet from someone that the government of Canada actually posted that. Then the person retweeted it. The person is also in Montreal here. He's a Nigerian. I think I've forgotten his name slightly, but if I remember, I'll say it. So he retweeted that post. Then I bookmarked it. So when I got home later on, I took a look at it and like, oh, the government is funding some 24 projects in carbon footprints, GHG emissions, environmental monitoring. And this is a field that I've been like interested in, like environmental pollution, climate change, climate science, and all those. If you're in the environmental field, this is a field that is like gaining a lot of traction,
Okay.
sustainability, and all these stuffs. So I actually bookmarked it again. I said, oh, I'll get back to this thing later. It was somewhere around December. So early January, I'm like, oh, Dennis, you said you checked this thing, you've not done it. So I took my phone again, then I actually opened the link. Then I read each of the 24 projects they had outlined over there.
Okay.
And I saw one particular project and I'm like, no, this is the one for me. And I just saw they've just written the project name and they've written McGill University. So this is where your research tentacles come into play. I now took the link, researched more, and I came to find out that if this project has been awarded to McGill University, it will go to this department of McGill University. So that is what I found initially. I had not even seen the professor. So what I decided to do was to write an email to the graduate coordinator. And I said, hello, Dr. Ragavan, that's his name. I came across this project on Twitter that the government has awarded this project to your school. From my research, this project will be conducted by your department, and you are the program coordinator. So can you connect me to the professor that has been awarded this contract? So that is the email I sent initially. Then it seems when he saw the email, like the approach, let me tell you what I just wrote. I've seen that you've been awarded this amount in funding. It was about, I think, $2 million in funding for this project in McGill University. I would like to work with the professor doing that project. So I'll be happy if you can connect me. Since the approach I used probably also worked, he just forwarded the email to the professor. Then the
Wow.
professor wrote back to me, yeah, that I should send him an email. This is his email address. So then I now came to draft my official code email. So the first one was a pre-code email to look for the professor. Then the second one was now the official code email to the professor. And I told him back again that I saw this project on Twitter. I saw that you've been awarded this project, and I decided to look into it. And it is something I'm interested in. This is my background. This is what I did for my undergrad. This is the final dissertation project I worked on, and it aligns with what you've been asked to do. So I'm looking for an opportunity to be part of the project if you will be accepting students. Simple. So he read my email again and he got back to me. Oh, Dennis, that was around 8th to 10th January 2023. Dennis, I've seen your email. It's quite fascinating. This is the first time like a student has sent me an email without a general approach. I've looked into your lab and this, and that. You have published paper A, B, or C, the general code email style. So yeah. So he said, this is the first time a student has just been blunt. Oh, I saw this. I realize you are doing it. I want to work with you. This is my background. This is where I can fit in. This is what I can contribute. So that was the first time he saw something like that. He was so happy. So we scheduled an interview just the following day.
Wow.
So I went to an interview with him. I finished the interview, and then he's like, gentlemen, go ahead and put in your application. Use my name as the professor that has given you the go ahead. And yeah, that was it. I think McGill at that time, they had their admission deadline for international students closing on the 15th. And I think I finished everything with the professor on the 12th. So I had just 3 days to apply. But
Okay.
being in the application space for a while, I already knew like what to write in terms of statement of purpose, academic CV. I had all those things. So I just had to write my statement of purpose. And then 1, 2, 3, I applied. So
Okay.
within 3
So
days, I put in my application.
okay. So what were the requirements for this particular program? And if you can mention the name of the program again.
So the program I'm reading is a MSc thesis, Bioresource Engineering. So
Okay.
when the professor gave me the go ahead, I went back to the school's websites. The requirements were you were supposed to have like at least a B, where the B they mean like you have like second class upper going.
Okay.
Then you are supposed to also have your recommendation letters from your undergraduates, probably like 2 academic referees and 1 work referee. You're also supposed to write a statement of purpose, as I mentioned, or some call it letter of intent, statement of motivation. Yeah. And you're also supposed to have like your transcripts, the unofficial one to upload. Then your degree certificate. You also input your GPA and like all those things. So those were the main requirements. But once again, as I mentioned, being in the academic space, I just needed a phone call to my supervisors back in KNUST, and they were willing to write the recommendation for me. Dr. Mahama, once again, was the person who was my non-academic because I met him in the job field. So he quickly
Okay.
also just did his. And yeah, we put in the application in a
Okay.
space of
So
72 hours.
let's touch on each of the things you've mentioned. Let's look at the statement of purpose or the letter of intent. On the departmental website, were there certain requirements that the statement of purpose was supposed to meet? If yes, what were the details in your statement of purpose that landed you the offer?
All right. So every statement of purpose, like on many schools' websites, have mostly, I think, about 4 key questions. Why you want to pursue graduate school, why you chose that particular school, your career goal, and then what specifically you are coming to study in that particular school.
Okay.
So our school also had this sort of like a template where you are supposed to, your statement of purpose is supposed to answer those specific questions. And you
Okay.
have to write this in like about 1.5 pages. Mostly it's between, I think, 700 to 800 words. So specific to mine, I didn't deviate from my original path. I stayed true to it. For my statement of purpose, I wrote specifically what happened. So mostly, which let me just give a general comment, mostly with regards to student applications, when you tell people personalize your statement of purpose, they're like, oh, there are a lot of templates online. I can just dab or copy some of them. And well, I decided to personalize mine. So I specifically wrote, my background is in this. I've graduated from so and so program. I wanted some form of like a catchy introduction. So I actually put in my statement of purpose the dates I saw the post on Twitter, and I put the link to the post on Twitter. So that
Wow.
was the introduction to my statement of purpose. That I came across this post by the Environment and Climate Change Canada, which is the government of Canada, on Twitter on this day. It had this number of programs which are being funded into research that will bring some form of like science and also influence policy in Canada. As an enthusiastic graduate student or someone with keen interest in pursuing further studies, I conducted further research and I got to know there's one of the programs is this is my background and this is how I fit into this kind of project and this is what I want for my career. So that was my form of like introduction. Before then, I came to talk about what I've studied in KNUST and the courses I took that has prepared me well for graduate studies, conducting research in my undergraduate program, and all those things that has prepared me. Taking
Okay.
on professional courses and other stuff. Then I graduated to why I am deciding to come to McGill. There I talked about the professor, my interaction with him, how his supervision style is, and all those stuff. Then I concluded with my career path after school, what I want to do.
Okay. So a quick one. Looking at your prior research interest at University of Science and Technology, was there any relation with what you did in school? Was there any like relation with it as compared to the current research interest that you saw when you wanted to apply for the program? Was there any relationship?
There was some form of like, I'll consider it like a thin line. But
Okay.
one major thing about graduate school and its connection with undergraduate study is that what you do in your undergrad sort of like give you like a foundation that can propel you to like branch into like diverse fields. For example, if you see someone who studied, let's say, mechanical engineering for their undergraduate study, if you draw a circle around mechanical engineering, such a person can branch into a whole different fields when they go to graduate school, just because they have a background in mechanical engineering. So your undergrad sort of like prepares you for graduate school. Now, for my undergrad, I did environmental science, which is very broad. We have conservation, we have environmental biology, we have environmental pollution, you have climate change, you have soil science, you have a whole lot of like it envelopes a whole diverse backgrounds. So from undergrad, then you ask yourself, oh, what is next for me in terms of my academia or career? And most often, it is very good if you get something like a bit related directly to what you did in your undergrad, because that one you have a very solid foundation. You
Okay.
understand? I would say, like in Ghana, for your undergrad or your research thesis, most often, like the professor chooses a topic for you, that kind of system. So it's not like you actually, let's say you wanted this saying, okay, for my school, K University, those days, you had to like ballot even for a professor for your final year. And then the professor you get, what he's doing, it becomes what you do. So for
Okay.
undergrad, I think my professor, Dr. Faye Bafo, was into organic waste, environmental pollution, and those kind of stuff. So I sort of like did a final year thesis in composting research. Now the research I'm working on at McGill has some form of composting in it. So that's why when I saw that particular topic, because the topic was more like quantifying the carbon footprint of organic waste management system. So when I saw that organic waste, I'm like, oh well, there's some form of connection here. So why not? Let's explore. So yeah, if you ask me if there was some form of connection, I was here. But then my undergrad thesis, I actually did a research work where we actually did the composting. So you got to understand, you got some laboratory skills, you got some field work research experience and all those things to help you. And when I came here and I transitioned and like I'm doing an upgraded version and of what like I did prior to coming, it sort of like made sense. So I think the undergrad also prepared me very well.
Okay. That's very insightful. The statement of purpose has been dealt with perfectly. Let's come to your academic resume or your CV. What was the format you used? What were the ingredients? How did you cook it? How did you brand yourself? We are interested to know.
Thank you also. Like I said in the beginning, if someone has done something that has worked for him, if you copy well, it is very good. Back then, I told you I was following people that was in the academic space. On LinkedIn, I was following people like Dr. Adiola, Olubamiji, Mrs. Joysa, these Nigerians, they were the academic elites by then. I think they were Ghanaian academic elites, but they were not actually in the social media space.
Yeah,
I think the
space. Yeah.
Nigerians have captured that space very well. So yeah. So I was following this kind of people. And I think Dr. Olu, he's currently at University of Alberta as a professor there. He had posted his CV, his academic CV on the internet for everyone to see. So I just had that template. I'm like, well, let me structure mine the same way. So it first had like your name and key things like your email, your LinkedIn profile. You put all those things there. Then you now come to instead of putting like a professional summary, you put like research interests. So you put bullet points. These are the research fields you are interested in. Then you now come and put your education. You have like your school, so bachelor's in. You put your GPA or CWA. Then you put like the name of the research you conducted for your final year, your supervisor. You put those things on it. Then you now come to like If you've had like some teaching experiences as a TA or something, you put those things. Then if you have some
Did you
form
have
of
any
like
teaching experience?
publications, at that time I didn't. I had not taught anyone. I didn't. After KNUST, I didn't do TA, so I just went straight to national service. But I know some colleagues did national service as teaching assistants. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you have those things, you put them on there. So that was the template they had cooked over there, and I followed that man's template. And the parts I didn't have, I just omitted it, and I put the ones I had. For my side, I had a lot of like personal learning, professional learning, because
Okay.
after national service, between the period and during my working days, I was doing a lot of like taking online courses because I was academically inclined. I wanted to study more. So I had like relevant professional courses or online courses I had taken from schools like Alberta, Cornell University, and all. So I also put those ones there as certifications and trainings. I had internship opportunities. I did some volunteer work for free. I was not being paid at Clean Scientific. It's in around Spintex there in Ghana. And all those things. So I put all those things there because those ones gave me some relevant experiences. Yeah. And then I now describe my undergraduate research work as research experience. So I put the things we're doing during my final year, lab work, and all those things. I describe those things clearly. Then now, I think the final thing at the end was more like references. So I had my professors and those things. Yeah. So that was how my academic CV was like structured.
Okay. What are some of the key things or some of the exceptional things that made your academic CV outstanding? If you can touch on them briefly for our listeners so that they can incorporate them in theirs when they are building their academic CV or their resume.
I think the major aspects of an academic CV that makes it different from a normal CV would be the academic stuff like one, your research interests and research experiences. Two, if you have teaching experiences, you can also put them there. Three, if you have publications, you can put them there. Four, if you have grants and awards. In the academic space, they know good students often receive some scholarships and awards. So if you have those things, you put them there. If you've attended conferences where you've presented your work, you put them there. And if you've attended some form of workshops or academic trainings, you put them there too. So these things will distinguish your CV from the normal work CV. So if you even have work experience, those things will come later in the CV. But the first page or first 2 pages of an academic CV should have the critical academic stuff I mentioned.
Okay. When you were applying, how many pages resume or academic CV did you use?
As an undergrad, I would advise that your academic CV should not be more than 3 pages as an undergrad, because
Okay.
you might have not built that catalog of experiences that they should exceed such number of pages. Because if you look at the template that I was using, Dr. Luba Miji's own was like about 10 pages because he had a catalog of experiences. Yeah. But as an undergrad, I think my academic CV was just 2 pages.
Okay.
But probably now it has increased.
So aside emailing the professor or your prospective supervisor who later approved that you could include his name in the statement of purpose, were you required to write a research statement to add to the application?
Some schools do, but my school was not requesting for such.
Okay. But
They
did you
they sort of
capture
like
but
before
did
the
you
professor
capture
gives you. Okay, go ahead.
but did you capture your research interests on on your academic resume? If yes, how many of them were there?
Okay, so yes, I had 3 bullet points. Following the discussions I had with the professor, and I've also gone to see the professor's website and I've seen his research interest and what he was doing. So I just decided to model my academic interest or research interest along that path and such that it will fit into one, the program I was applying for, and also the supervisor that has agreed to supervise me to also fit into his research interest. So I had 3 bullet points.
Okay. Let's move on to letters of recommendation. How many were you required to submit? Was it two, three, or four?
So I was supposed to submit three, two from academic sources and one from non-academic sources.
Okay. So did the school state that specifically on their departmental website, or you inquired and it was clarified?
It was clearly stated on the school's website that two of your referees should be people from academic sources, specifically professors or lecturers that have taught you or supervised you during your undergraduate days. And the non-academic one should be someone who have supervised you in the space of a professional work or employment setting.
Okay. So you made mention that you had about just 2 to 3 days before the deadline would be over. How did you quickly get your recommendation letter submitted? Because it has been a challenge to a lot of people in this graduate school application process. So how did you get that done quickly?
Okay, so recommendation letters is very, very important in graduate school. Admissions. Admissions over here don't just specifically look at just only your grades, but they look at the quality and the strength of your recommendation letter because the system over here values recommenders. Because if someone is recommending you for something that they do believe the person knows your capacity, your strength, and your ability to be able to do what they are recommending you for. Um, I mentioned to you that I had been doing school applications for a while. So
Okay.
specifically to me, as I know the challenge that people have when they are trying to get recommenders for their admissions. One thing I'll say is to build a level of like a networking or communication with your professors in your undergrad. When I decided that I'll be doing school applications and I realized I needed recommenders, I was in Accra, but I drove to Kumasi specifically to meet my professors who taught me and my supervisors one on one that this is what I want to do. So within the space of the next 1 or 2 years, I'll be trying to apply to some schools. And when I do need recommenders, I'll plead with you that I can use your details as my recommender. So I went to them in person, then they agreed. I teach people this method because I feel if you just take your phone and call or you send a WhatsApp message to your professor back in undergrad that oh, you are doing school, you want him to, he will not even mind you. You know how Ghanaian professors are. So go to them in
Yeah.
person. Speak to them that, oh, you after school, this is what you've been doing, but then you want to pursue your studies abroad and you need recommendations. So you want to take their details so that when the time comes, they'll be able to write you a recommendation. The person will see the effort you've put in, that you've come to them and you've discussed it with them, not just randomly, you are just there one time, just call them, can you please be my recommender? It doesn't work that way.
Okay. So from what I've picked from what you shared, it simply means that we should try and build connections with our lecturers or our tutors whilst we are in school. And
Yeah,
even if we have not built that connection after school,
you
before we
can
start the
still do it.
process,
Yeah.
it's very important to still reconnect with them and share
Yeah.
with them our dreams so that they can come through for us anytime we need them.
Perfect. Because I did that until today. If I should just email or send a message to my supervisor that I even need a recommendation today, he's willing to do it because I built that sort of like personal talks with him just before I started those things. And all my schools or every new thing I did, he was willing to do it for me just because he realized, oh, you actually left Accra to come and speak with me because of this. And I said, yes, you understand.
Okay. So did they use like those Gmails or Yahoo emails or all the three recommendations or institutional recommendations, if you can clarify?
So my academic sources, they were all institutional emails, but my non-academic used his personal email. He didn't use an institutional email back then. He was in the job space and the job company had not given him a specific institution email. So he used his personal email and we still did it. But the academic ones were specific emails of the school.
Okay. Let's come to the application fee. Did you apply for free or you were given a waiver? If you can clarify that to our listeners and our followers, please.
There is an adage in the Ghanaian local language that says "Yedinam ni yinam," or you use
Okay.
a fish to catch a fish.
Okay.
Uh, Application fees have been a thing of a challenge to many graduate students. I wouldn't say it is not. But sometimes too, if you say you followed the opportunities where you are looking for free application fees, you may miss some opportunities. So I didn't get a waiver. I paid my application fee.
How much was the application fee by then, and how much is it now, if you know?
I think it was 125 CAD the time I was applying, and McGill till now it has not changed for my department. It was 125 CAD.
Okay. Do you have any idea how many people are admitted in your department every academic year?
With respect to numbers, if I give you a specific number now, that would be a speculation. But I do know McGill is one of the schools in Canada that admits a lot of international students. That I can testify to, because I've got the opportunity to serve on a lot of committees and positions in the school, and I can testify to the fact that McGill actually admits a lot of international students, one from Ghana, two from Nigeria, three from Kenya, South Africa, Ethiopia, so like India, China, even from the US. So McGill admits a lot of international students. My department, the Ghanaian community, we are nearing close to like 60, 70. Yeah.
Wow, 60, 70.
Yeah. The Ghanaian
That's a huge
community
number.
over here. Yeah. So McGill actually, one thing about my department is like we try to also help. There are a lot of KNUST students over here. We try
Okay.
to help our people back home, those who are in KNUST. There are a lot of the KNUST, the number of KNUST students here are more than those from Legon. So we try to like help the KNUST people. So there's a lot of Ghanaian students in McGill specifically. Yeah, there are a lot.
Okay.
There are even
Let's
people we
come.
still don't know who are even here. But yeah.
Okay. Now let's come to your funding situation. Are you a teaching assistant, or you are a research assistant, or you play a different role in your department? If you can clarify.
I got an uncommon opportunity to do both.
Okay.
So I was one, I was a research assistant. Two, I was a teaching assistant. Yeah.
Well, that's why you got about 60,000 Canadian dollars in funding.
It seems it's a little more. I just rounded it up to that for you.
Okay. Congratulations once again. Congratulations. Okay.
Thank you
So
very much. Thank you very
during the
much.
application process, were you made to apply for the funding as part of the school admission process, or you applied for the funding separately, or once the admission offer came and you were admitted, the funding came automatically? If you could clarify that for our listeners.
So, as part of the interview I had with the supervisor, we discussed funding. And that was the last item I discussed with him before finishing that Zoom meeting. That what funding is available. If you listen to me earlier, I clearly mentioned the project you've been awarded was this amount. I put the amount there. You have this funding for this project. So if I'm come to join you, how much of that are you allocating to me as a student? So we discussed that. Then we also discussed some further funding opportunities that may become available while I take the program. And
Okay.
as you mentioned, like the teaching assistantships, entrance awards, anti-black, great award, travel awards, project scholarship, and many others. So these were the breakdowns he gave me. So once he gave me that, oh, this is the amount I will give you from the project, and these are the other sources of funds you could get. I'm like, oh, okay, why not? So when the admission offer came, it clearly stated the amounts the supervisor has decided to give me. Funding from the department itself, what they've also decided to give me. It also had, I mentioned something like we call anti-black. It is more like an entrance award, which I got also. And yeah, then I came on, then I took on the teaching assistantship also. Later had some project award. I also had travel awards. So all these are a little above 60,000, but let's take it at 60,000. Yeah.
Okay. So, in essence, you are trying to say that during the process, there was no option
I
for you
didn't
to apply for
apply for
funding.
any other funding.
Okay. And is it automatic that once someone gets admitted into your program, the person is funded automatically?
I can categorically tell you that now, as you are speaking with me, if you get admission to McGill and you are coming to the Faculty of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, you are not paying A or B for tuition.
Wow.
Secondly, whatever the professor decides to give you goes to your pocket.
Okay.
That is now. Our time, like my time, it was that whatever the professor decides to give you, and then you use some to pay your tuition and all those things. But due to good student policies that are coming up, now McGill, if you get admission to my program or my department, the Agriculture and Environmental Sciences houses bioresource engineering, food scientists, food quality, food safety, integrated water resources, and all this. You are not paying there, even a CD or a PESWA for tuition. Whatever funding that your admission also comes with goes directly into your pockets.
Okay. Before we switch to the second aspect of the discussion, which is the visa application process, what would you advise to people who are listening to us, people who are still in school and they want to come and pursue their graduate studies in McGill or any other school in Canada? What would be your advice to them in terms of the admission process? What do they have to look at? And what are some of the factors they have to consider so that they can get in and they will not throw the application fee away?
I will always begin with what Abraham Lincoln said. As for me, I'll prepare, and one day my chance will come. Preparation is very, very important in everything. If you fail to plan, then you actually plan to fail. So if you are probably, let's say you're an undergrad, you are in year 2, you are in year 3, these are the opportunities or times where you would have to focus on your studies and you would have to like obtain getting like first class, because now across the whole Canada graduate school, if you want to go to the under 15 universities in Canada, your least grade should be an upper. So your first thing to do is to finish school with first class or second class upper. It is very, very important. Don't throw that opportunity away and come and say, oh, I have third class. What opportunities are there for me? You understand? Why? You are competing with international students for these opportunities, people from China, India, America, UK, and the like. And these people are also very brilliant people. And McGill or any other school in Canada wants the best of minds and intellects. So you getting those grades are very, very important. Two, I would say build a very good relationship with your professors during your undergrad days. So when you need recommendation letters, you wouldn't need to struggle. Three, specifically look out for what you actually want to do. I would be sincere with you. There are even people who finish university and they still don't even know what they want to do as their career.
Okay.
Broaden your mind. Look at what is happening in the world. Look at a particular field you want to go to. We are now in the world of like digitization, technology, industry 4.0. Everything is going this AI and the likes. Look at where the world, the trend is going. Look at the program you are reading and how your program fits into that trend and determine what you want to do. Just so that in the next 5 years, you will not say AI has taken over your job. So you would have to actually know what you want to do. You plan very well. It's not just about coming to Canada. If you're even going to the UK, the US, Japan, Korea, the journey is not always Canada. You can even go and start from somewhere else and you can come back to North America or even anywhere else, or you can even decide to stay there. But just my whole focus or plan is go with a plan. You don't just go just because, oh, everyone is leaving Ghana. If I have the grades, let me also use it and also leave Ghana. Else you finish school and things may be tougher than you may have perceived it to be. So my advice to the young ones, yeah, as I mentioned, finish school with good grades, have a very good plan, have a very solid foundation in the field, obtain the skills. Now it is not just about the degree. You understand? There are some skills in the degree. For example, a professor can post on LinkedIn that I'm looking for a student to join my lab in masters. You must have skills in, let's say, R, ArcGIS, like this, there are specific skill sets in every field. So this your undergrad days are the time where you use that opportunity to obtain those skills or even have basic knowledge in them, so that when you come to graduate school, you can polish those skills. That
Okay.
is what I would say.
Okay. That was very, 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 very insightful.
Very insightful.
But then there are a lot of people watching us now, over 200 people who are watching us all over the world. Some people might not have the opportunity to right the wrongs, like getting an upper or a first class. Maybe they already have a second class lower or a third class. Does it mean there is no hope for those people?
There is hope for everybody. I always tell myself that if you set up your mind to do something and you work effortlessly to it, you are going to be able to achieve it. There is no one way stream to like success. There are many ways that everyone can achieve success. So, you have to find your path. First is to acknowledge where you are, that this is where I've got to. However, you are not the only one that has been there before. There are people who have had third classes, lowest, and they've been able to meander this graduate school and academic journey. If you have a lower or a third class, doesn't mean you can't uh, find your path to graduate school. These universities and schools that I'm mentioning, some of them have programs that they call like graduate diploma, postgraduate certification programs. I know someone who actually wanted to do a research master's, but his results from his undergrad was not good. What he did was he took in a 1 year postgraduate diploma course in the school he wanted. When he
Okay.
graduated from that 1 year program, he took that results to the graduate school and they gave him admission into a master's in the same school. So education, like we often say, has no end. It's not about the time you do it, but it's about doing it and actually being fulfilled from what you've done. So it's not like, oh, I don't have first class, I don't have a pass. So as for me, I won't apply, I don't qualify, this, on that. No, seize the opportunity and take it up yourself, work your path out. There are many other pathways for you. There are schools in the UK admitting people with HNDs. Someone say, oh, what if I didn't go to university? People with HNDs or people with certificates from polytechnics are all getting admissions. But it won't just come to you. You have to work for it. You have to invest your time, invest your money, do the research, find the opportunities that are available to you. You can even randomly send your results to a graduate admission committee. This is my results from my undergrad. I'm interested in the masters in your school. I saw that probably you need a second class or this. Are there pre-master programs? There are some schools that offer you the opportunity to catch up. So they will let you take some pre-master programs. When you pass those pre-master programs, they will admit you into their masters. So there's a huge like opportunities out there. Look at the number of universities in just Canada and US alone. Just combine them and say, look at these huge universities. If I actually take my time to make research, I won't get one that I'll fit into. You will. So that is what I would say. It's just like people actually don't want to like commit the time to like look out for these opportunities, but there is something for everyone under this sun or this entire earth. There is something for everyone.
Okay. So to all our followers and our listeners out there, finishing with a third class or a second class lower is not a death
It's
sentence.
never the end.
As you mentioned, there are some courses, pre-masters courses. Let's say the graduate diploma, the graduate certificate, postgraduate diploma, certificate courses, which you can take to catch up so that you can be admitted to some of these masters or PhD programs. So, as you rightly said, just find your path, look at what is going to work for you, and ensure that you follow that path to work towards success. Someone might have used a straight path and climbed the ladder. Another person might have used a crooked path and still climb that ladder. So identify what is going to work for you and stick to that. That is his advice. Let's come to the visa application. Okay, just before we talk about the visa application, how long did it take you to get the admission? How long did it take you to hear from the school, from the time you submitted your application till when the decision was made?
So as I mentioned, the admission deadline was 15th. And I started the application like on the 12th. So I just used 3 days to apply. So Afterwards, I was admitted on 6th of March. I think it was Ghana's Independence Day. Then I got the email and I checked and my admission was in. So between January 15th and March 6th,
Okay.
that was like, let's say 2 months. Well, yeah, roughly up to 2 months.
Let's talk about your Canada visa application. Did you get it on the first shot, or you were denied and you had to try again?
So my visa application was one touch. I got it the very first time I applied. I put in my visa application on April 22nd, and my visa came just a week after my birthday, as 18th of May.
April, May. So it just took less than 2 months, if I'm right.
Yeah, 22nd of April to 18th of May.
Okay. What do you think worked for you when you were submitting your visa application? If you can talk about the process, how after the
Once
admission came,
again,
what you did, the documents you gathered, and what did the magic for you to get your visa approved within that short period and only one touch?
so you see the essence of planning in everything that I've been discussing with you. Immediately, I submitted my school application with foreknowledge or with hope and intent that I was going to get admitted. I started planning for visa. So there and there again, because I was in the academic space also, I knew a thing or two, but I started also specifically reading a lot into Canadian visa. Once again, I would give the accolades to people like Olu of Canada. Back in the days, we were in their pages, left, right, center. I had not got admitted yet, but I was already in pages that were doing Canadian visa application processes.
Is it the
And
OJC platform?
the OJC platform, I was in the OJC, I was in, what is the other guy's name? There's one other guy. He's the Nigerians. They are all Olu. So yeah, but there was one. I think his name starts with a D. OJC. There was one other guy who starts with a D.
Is
Then
it
I
the one?
was
The
general.
one.
The one OJC. Then the general RRCC page. I was on their page like 24/7. Then McGill too also had some webinars on visa applications. I joined all those stuff. Even if it was not even McGill in any other school, I joined. Then there was Joy, Mrs. Joy Chuku Osa. I think she's now at Dalhousie, Rita ODG. They are all professors now. Back then, they were all on like Instagram. You see, this weekend, one person is doing Instagram live. The following week, this one is doing Facebook live. And I was there 24/7. I wanted the information. You understand? So the planning phase is very, very, very critical.
Okay,
So
so
having been in all these different
before you
spaces,
continue, there is a question here. Someone is asking, how did Dennis, that's Ahmed Bello, how did Dennis get an early appointment date for his visa? Could he share how he had that? Thank you. Please, if you are here, you want to ask questions, just leave your questions in the comment section, display them, and Dennis will respond to them as we are interviewing him. Thank you.
So Ahmed, thank you for your question. Early appointment date. Canada doesn't have anything like an appointment date for visa applications. You just apply for your visa, and if they'll give you your visa. If you are trying to ask how I got my visa like within such a short period, that one I will understand. But if early appointment date, I have no
Okay,
clue.
so I believe he thinks US and Canada has a similar process. With US, you have to go to the embassy for an interview and you have to struggle for an early appointment date. But with Canada, you don't go for an interview. Everything is done online. You just sit at the comfort of your home. If you have all your documents, you can put in your application all by yourself without involving any agent. So please, Ahmed, you don't need an early appointment for Canada visa application or Canada study permit application. But if it is the US, yes, you need an early appointment date. Thank you. So let's continue.
All right. So I'll continue. So having been in all these spaces, I'm someone who reads a lot. I read a lot about all the processes. So I started gathering my documents even before getting the admission. I knew these were the things I'll be needing for my visa. So I started preparing them. You understand? So I prepared, let me tell you the very first step I took. On my laptop, I had a folder called my visa application. If I open into that folder, I have subfolders. Example one, academic documents. Two, proof of funds documents. Three, client information documents. Four, self-identity and personal documents. So this is how I have structured it. So if I get any document from one side, I put it in the exact section it's supposed to be. So by the time my admission came, I had all these sections filled up on my laptop with the required documents and ready. I just needed to sort A, B, C out, and I was ready to apply for the visa. So as I mentioned, I got my fund admission in 6th of March, and I applied for the visa on April 22nd.
Okay. So were you so confident that the admission was going to come? That is why you were preparing ahead for the visa application? If yes, what made you so confident?
There's one thing about schooling in Canada or the US, particularly a program that demands that you get a professor. I can tell you confidently with about 80% surety that if you get a supervisor to tell you go ahead and apply, you are going to get admitted.
But Dennis, there have been cases where people secured supervisors. They gave them assurances that, oh, apply, add my name, but they got denied the application.
That is what I'm saying. I'm giving you 80% surety.
Okay.
The 20% falls within those people that the professor may have given you the go ahead, but probably in your application, maybe certain things denied you the opportunity, which could be one, maybe you don't have strong recommendation letters. Two, maybe the supervisor, some supervisor can tell you, oh, I'm trying to see if there will be funds for the project. Some have not got the funding and those things. So depending on the professor can decide to discuss with the school, oh, if there's some funds for this student I want to take on. If those funds are not available, the department may have to like deny you. And sometimes the supervisor writes to some students, oh, funding is not in yet. So when funding becomes available, I'll let them admit you or something like that. Or probably you didn't even do your normal application process well. You can get opportunity from the supervisor and probably you are filling the questions on the admission portal and you don't pay attention to fill the right things, you choose the wrong things, you can get denied. It's not like 100% that you've got a professor, so you must get admitted. But as I said, I can give you an 80% surety that if you get a professor and you do your application well, you get admitted.
Okay.
So having that in mind,
if you are watching us now, we are live on YouTube, the Delali Network. We are live on Facebook, and we are live on X, that is Twitter. Retweet, share, comment, and just leave your questions in the comment section. Whatever question you have for Dennis, just leave it in the comment section. We'll display it, we'll ask him, and he'll respond to your questions. So, as you mentioned, it simply means that when I have an acceptance from a supervisor, it doesn't automatically guarantee that I'm going to get admission.
You would have to do your application also very well and not just put in any form of, because your admission first comes to the admissions committee. They will see that the supervisor has given you a, but they will also have to actually scrutinize to see if the person that the supervisor is bringing has the capacity for graduate school, has some form of good grades, good recommendation letters, has a good CV, good background that fits into the program and all those things. So yeah, you have to do. I've seen instances where even supervisors were willing to even help students they want to take on, draft very good statement of purposes and all those stuffs. So yeah.
Okay. Let's switch back to the visa application process. What were some of the documents you prepared for your visa application process, if you can mention most of them?
So in general, one thing I read was that back then of being in all those pages and all, before you do a visa application, you would have to have like an admission letter from the school. You would have to have your previous like education credentials, which you have by the time you are applying for a school, like your transcripts and your certificates. You have like a CV already, certain documents that I needed to get, like my passport and all those things were things I had. So I just had to like go and scan them, print them, my birth cert, my Ghana card, These basic things are stuff you have already. So I had scanned all those things down and arranged them neatly, eligible or legible PDFs that can be seen anywhere, no matter how you compress them and all those stuff. So I had done those basic stuff. And one other thing was like proof of funds. So I had funding from the school. I contacted the professor to also write another letter to add to that funding, and then printing my bank statements. The fact that I had funding and everything didn't mean I didn't add bank statement. I was working at the time. I also got support from my cousin, Mr. Ebenezer, wherever you are. Thank you. He added his funds. He sent his money into my bank account. I printed my funds. I added it to. So I showed them that even aside the scholarship, I have my own money. You understand? So I used all those platforms and I added and prepared all the documents neatly. The sponsor that Mr. Ebenezer that gave me the funds, I took his source of funds, that was his business. He added his properties, his cars. He wrote a letter of sponsorship to show that he's my cousin. He's been with me. He's happy I'm going. He's supporting me with this amount. He's giving me all his documents, his ID cards. We had our pictures together. We even had pictures of us on the football park. We were playing football together. Wow. I photographed each of them. Sometimes I look back at my visa application, I'm going to them, I'm like, oh, I did all this. You understand? Yeah. So sometimes when I'm coaching others to do this, I think through this visa, we formed this group, which was formed by, I think, Felix. Felix formed the Study in Canada group, and I was added. I've coached many people from that group, and we are still helping the many as we can. And yeah, if sometimes I devise some strategy to help tell someone, do it this way, do it, and they're like, wow, I'm like, I started doing this like long ago. So the experiences are there. If I tell you some of the critical things I did in my visa application, your audience will be like, wow. And I taught many people that same processes, and they've done that, and they're all in Canada here with us, and we are all here. So yeah, the visa application is it takes a lot of planning. So I started my planning long ago. I had the required documents. When it was time, I just arranged each of them. Like I told you, I created my folders. I have each section well arranged neatly, wrote every picture I even put there. I put a comment and this is me and my sponsor. This is my sponsor and my mother. This is my this and this. Everything well labeled. So if an officer takes it, I'm not there to explain to him, but he clearly sees this is this. A is A, B is B, C is C, and he's able to see every single thing. Yeah.
Okay. So in spite of getting this huge amount of funding, $60,000 Canadian dollars, you are letting us know that you still added your personal bank statement, that of your cousin as well. You added his personal bank statement as well, or his business bank statement. There is this mindset that people have that, oh, the school is funding everything. Like I even have overfunding, just like in your case. And they say it's not necessary to add their personal bank statement or the sponsor's bank statement to support the funding. What do you have to say about that?
I'll categorically tell you that Immigration and Refugees Canada is a Canadian system. They know how schools operate in Canada. You understand? They know that if a school gives you funding, one, the money is not released all to you once. Two, they know the money comes in bits. Most schools give it to you in bits, small. They know all these things. So what is the situation like? Okay, you've got full funding. What will you use to even pay for your flight? This is what goes through the visa officer's mind. Okay, you didn't add any bank statement, nothing. You have all this full funding. How are you going to Canada? Where is your flight money? If you land in Canada immediately, the school would have not given you money at that time. How do you pay for your first accommodation? Before the school, you register into the school and you start school and the school starts giving you money. So they actually know there's a period between from you've got all your funding, you have to fly to Canada, you have to get your own accommodation, you have to even pay probably the first month of your accommodation because you have to go to school before the school actually starts. And then you also know that stipends or funding from schools are released at the end of or the beginning of every month. That is what is in most schools. So they know the money will come to you probably at the beginning of the next month. So within the period where you stay in the school till that money comes, how do you sponsor yourself? These are the questions immigration officers think about to be able to award you your visa or deny you. You can prepare a very strong application, but if the visa officer has these basic doubts, sometimes I review people's visas application document and I'm able to critically tell them, if I'm the visa officer, this is where I might use to deny you. Yeah, it's at some point I used to do these things, and you know how the Ghanaian society are. Some will be like, "Oh, you are bragging," or "You are this." But well, we don't let these comments get to us. We just keep on helping the majority we can help, and yeah. Even this live, I just put it on one of the Telegram pages. One of the comments was like, "You guys, you just go to a brochure and you want to start creating content." And I was just looking at it and I was laughing. Yeah, so I knew I had funding, but I knew these are petty questions that could also be in the visa officer's mind. So specifically, I added my bank situation. I had like about 150,000 CDs inside by then. Then my sponsor statement had millions of CDs, and I added all those stuffs. And so I just wanted the visa officer to be convinced that if even the funding is not ready yet or it's not even available, I have my own money for flights. I have my own money for accommodation, for feeding until I start receiving my funding money.
Okay. Before we continue,
Because if you are proving beyond reasonable doubt, yeah.
Continue, Dennis. Continue.
Yeah, I'm like, in the end of the day, with visa application, with the Canada one where you won't be there, the person reviewing your documents should be overconvinced that if they should grant you the visa, you're actually coming to Canada to come and school.
Okay. So before we still proceed with talking about the visa application, there's still a lot we have to talk about. Let me just show some of the questions people are asking so that you can tackle them. Then we'll continue. So I have one question from Ahmed here again. Ahmed Bello. He says, how must one handle professors who don't reply to their cold emails? Is it advisable to resend an email to that same professor? If you can tackle this question for us.
Ahmed, thank you for your question. We have what we call follow-ups. Back then, I was doing a lot of follow-ups. If you email a professors are very busy people. For people I have coached, I specifically tell them, even the time you send the email to the professor is important. You should know that you are in Ghana, you are in Nigeria. There is like about 4 or 5 hour time difference between where you are and where the professor is. Imagine you are in Ghana and you send a professor an email at, let's say, 3 p.m. Ghana time. The professor would have closed school. Here, the professors, when they close schoolwork is done. They go take care of their families and other things. They won't check their mails. So even the best time to send a cold email to a professor, if you are in the West African region, is to send it around between 12:30 p.m. and 1 p.m. That time in Canada or US, it will be morning time. These are the times professors even check their emails. Let me use my supervisor, for example. If he comes to the office every morning, he stands by his computer for the next 30 minutes to look at a series of emails he's had and go through them. You understand? So if your professor is not responding to your email, 1, check the time you are sending the email. 2, don't use the generic subjects. The subject of the email is very important. Professors get like, I'll say roughly, maybe close to like 50 to 60 emails a day. Even we graduate students, sometimes they get like 12, 20 emails in a day. So professors get more. And you are not the only one trying to contact the professor. There are many people worldwide who may want to work with that professor too. Aside the projects they are working on, their school commitments, teaching commitments. So they receive a lot of emails. So what will make your email stand out is even the subject you put in the email. If the professor sees your email and it has a very good subject caption, they can highlight it to look at it later. So follow-ups is important. If you send a professor an email, give it a week. If you've not heard from him, do a follow-up. Like that, this is a follow-up to my earlier email I sent. I'm hoping you get a time to look at it. Looking forward to hearing from you. So follow up. If you follow up 2-3 times and he's not hearing from you, you can decide to leave it. But there's always a back door also to a professor. Most professors have their research labs on their website or their program departmental page. Go into the website of the professor himself. You clearly see that they've put like teams in their research labs. The professors have like students in the research labs they work with. You can click on any of the students. If there's no link, look at the name of the student, go to LinkedIn, find the student on LinkedIn, you see their name and their school, find them, message them that, oh, I've seen that you are in this lab of Professor so and so. I sent an email about 2 weeks ago and I've sent a follow-up. No, could you please tell the professor I would want to speak with him? Or you can even discuss with the graduate student what opportunities are there for master's students or PhD students. And the graduate student who can even go to the professor, oh, there's this student from this country. He met me through LinkedIn. He said he's been trying to reach you. I've done this, I'm telling you, for someone before, and it worked. You understand? So it's not just sometimes just going through the professor. This whole
I just lost Dennis. I think his connection, but I'll try to see if I can get him back. Just be patient with me. Just be patient with me. I'm trying to get Dennis back.
Yeah,
Okay.
hello?
Yeah, you are back. Let's continue.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm saying probably time will not give us the opportunity to like give you like specific details, but you should be able to take cues from what I'm saying. That there are many ways to you to be able to go to or get to a professor. If the professor is not replying, you can even email the graduate coordinator of that particular program that, oh, you are interested into working with this professor. You've been trying to reach him, but this has been your challenges. You are not getting any response from him yet. Or you can go through his lab and talk to some of the students through LinkedIn, and then they can even connect you to the professor. So I hope Ahmed, this answers your question.
Okay, thank you very much, Dennis. So Kobe Sams says, beautiful submission. And again, he says, I am here, Sly. Good work there. Good work to Kobe. Invite your friends to join. Then there is another question here which says, please, does Dennis have any idea? That's from Louis Atta. Does Dennis have any idea whether the graduate school offers architecture programs or landscape architecture programs? So Dennis is, sorry, Atta is asking if your school, oh, I just lost Dennis again. Let me try and see if I can get him back. Okay. Okay, yeah, you are back again. Okay, so the question was, Luis Atta is asking, please, does Dennis have any idea whether the graduate school offers architecture programs or landscape architecture programs?
I know architecture to be a program that runs like are you specifically asking for like a master of architecture itself? Because I know we have like landscape and urban planning, we have landscape design, we have community development and urban planning. So if you all these are like architecture related programs. So Lois, if you could be specific, for example, students in KUST who were doing architecture it was like a 6-year program or so, something like that. But there are masters in architecture that are not specifically called a master in architecture, but it is like related programs, like I mentioned, urban community planning, rural and something community development. All these are architecture related programs. So I think a simple Google search could even give you some graduate schools in Canada. You can just put in Google graduate schools in Canada offering masters in architecture, and you would have a series of different ones to look at.
Okay, thank you very much, Dennis. My good brother Shito McBrown is also watching us live from Montreal. He's also a student at Concordia University. So you could reach out
Yeah,
to him. He said he
yeah,
knows you
he's my
very well.
friend.
Oh, okay. He has been a very good brother. So he's asking you
He's
a
my
particular
friend.
question. Okay. He's
Yeah,
saying,
Shito, with our better, what happened was,
okay,
yeah,
yeah, just go ahead. Ask you since you can see the question, just go ahead and answer.
okay, yeah, yeah. With Alberta, what happened was I was interested in their renewable energy program. They had a program in Alberta called REES, Renewable Energy and Environmental Resources, something like that. And as well as I was chatting with back then, made me apply. But like he was expecting a project to be funded by NRS. NRS is Natural Resources Canada. And the program was renewable resources, something. So the funding was not in yet. So that is what happened. And when the McGill own came, I decided to accept that one first. Later, when I came to Canada, I've messaged him, and I'm still staying in touch with the professor, like looking at further opportunities and those kind of stuff. Yeah. So I actually did the application, but after I applied, he was like, "Oh, the funding is not in yet, but let's see what will happen." Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So if you are still watching us, we have over 200 people watching us live now on all platforms. That is on YouTube, on Facebook, and on X, the Delali Network. We're having a discussion with our brother Dennis, how he got his 60,000 Canadian dollars funding from McGill University in Quebec. Okay, coming back to the visa application process. Did you wait for IRCC to request for your medicals, or you did your medicals prior to submitting your application? If you can clarify that.
Yeah, I did my medicals before I submitted my application, specifically because being in those pages, as I told you, I had seen how if you do upfront medicals, as we call it speeds up your application. Instead of waiting for you to be called to go do medicals, you go and do it, then you now come and upload, and now they'll now have to go and review your file again, and it delays your process. So I wanted a speedy approval. So I did upfront medicals. I did mine at Akai House in cantonments. Yeah. And I had it before I submitted my application.
Okay.
Anyone who has passed through my hands actually did an upfront medical.
Okay. There is this myth that when you do an upfront medicals, sometimes they tend to deny your application. If you can demystify it to our listeners and our followers.
I don't think that is true. Because if you are doing the application, they clearly ask you a question whether you've had medical exams performed by the specific uh, IRCC certified doctors or let's say hospitals, and they ask you to choose yes or no. So they know people do it before. And for example, what about someone who, let's say, did it with his his first application, it was requested, he did it and he was denied. And he's doing a new application. That's why they said, have you done medicals in the past 12 months? So you can do your medicals before you submit your application. So far as you do the medicals at the exact places they want you to do it. That's the Akai House, and then the what is the other one's name?
IOM.
The one in
IOM.
airport, the one
IOM.
at airport second, that side. IOM. If you do it at the if you do it at the designated places, your details and they are giving a specific reference code and everything goes to them. So they know you did it with them. So it doesn't affect your application in any way.
Okay. So if you are listening to us now, please, if you are using an agent and he's asking you to go and do your Canadian medicals at a general hospital, let's say if you're in Ghana, Tema General Hospital, or let's say 37 or whatever, please run away from that agent. The Canadian government has only two designated institutions that are allowed to perform Canadian medicals in Ghana. That is Akai House and IOM. And I think it's around 1,250 cedis, if I'm right. I don't know if they've increased it. So just double check that before you go in for your medicals. Don't let anyone mislead you to go and do your medicals anywhere aside these two institutions that we have mentioned. Okay, Dennis, let's continue. What were some of the things you heard about Canada study permit application that after you put in your application and you go approved, you notice that some of those things were just lies or were just things that were being said to scare you from putting in a good application?
This question, how best do I answer this? I do believe when it comes to visa application stuff, most people often work a lot on hearsay, hearsay, hearsay. Sometimes when I'm even coaching people, like, oh, I heard if you have to do this, I heard I have to add this, I heard I have to do this. And One thing I tell everyone is every person's application is different because person A sponsor will be different from person B sponsor. Maybe your father is sponsoring you, but person B, the uncle is the one sponsoring him. So these two applications may have similarities, but have differences or are different in many ways also. Every application is not, oh, yes, or
I've lost Dennis again. Just let's just hold on. We'll get Dennis back now. So Ayedole Mayo Sure is asking if
Delali, I, I
yeah,
don't I don't know what is happening to the network.
yeah, but you're back now. If you can
I,
continue, please.
I don't know what is happening to the network.
We'll be wrapping up in the next 15 minutes. So
Yeah, yeah. So with respect to hearsays, I do believe everyone should focus on what is specific to them in terms of visa applications because what will work for person A may not work for person B. You understand? For example, people used Empower and were approved. Others used Empower and they were denied. So that should let you know that what will work for person A is not what will work for person B. I think that would be the best way I could answer that question. Focus on what will work for you and get your proofs and your documents specific to that and then use for your application. Because someone can do the application and add the father's ID card and
I don't know why I keep on losing Dennis, but I'll get him back very soon. So let me just take this question. Ayedole says, is my visa approval guaranteed with a deficit as high as 57,000? I don't know if you are asking about Canada or USA. And if you should ask me, I can't give you a specific answer as to whether your visa application will be approved or your visa application will be denied because 57,000 is a very high deficit. And the question is, can you pay? Can you pay this amount of money, this deficit that you have, 57,000? Can you pay when you are even approved your visa? That is the first question you should ask yourself. So I'll ask you to try and work on getting some funding or bettering your situation, maybe looking for a school which has a low cost of attendance because 57,000 is too much, in my opinion. But if you have the belief that you could get your visa approved, you could go and try. But it's not only about getting your visa approved. If you come here, you must attend the school. You can't ditch the school and go and do whatever you like. And if you can note, there is a whole lot happening in US now, and I believe some countries will be implementing some of the things happening in US to in their countries very soon. So please, with a deficit as high as $57,000, I advise you to try and work on your funding situation, or you try your best and also get a school with a very low cost of attendance. That would be my advice to your question. Then the next question I have here before Dennis comes on board, Cecil McBrown is asking, there is a saying that you can do a direct PhD with bachelor's degree. Do you know if McGill University does that? Okay, let me add Dennis for him to take this question. So Dennis, there's a question from McBrown, if you can touch on it. There is a saying that you can do a direct PhD with bachelor's degree.
So that is
Do you
the
know if
question from
McGill
McBrown.
University does that?
yeah.
There is a saying that you can do a direct PhD with bachelor's degree. You know, if McGill University does that.
So if you can hear me, McGill has the master's transfer system. I've not seen the direct bachelor's, but what I know is if you are doing a master's in McGill, we can fast track it to a PhD for you. So before you finish your master's, your supervisor and you can agree and they would sign the document. There's a period McGill gives for that. If you want to fast track your master's into a PhD, that can be done.
Okay. And
So
just
you
to add,
come like you started master's, but then you'll be fast tracked into PhD. So you're not going to start PhD from year one. You just jump straight to PhD year two.
and just to add, thank you very much, Dennis. And just to add to what Dennis mentioned, if it's the USA, I know
And most of these direct PhD opportunities, I think, are in the US.
Just to add to what you mentioned,
Okay. So I have another question here for you. How has your experience been so far in Canada as an international student?
okay. See for you. So your experience being so when you come back to the aspect.
I keep on losing Dennis. I don't know why. Okay. Dennis,
Yeah.
can you hear
No,
me?
I got your question.
Okay.
Awesome, Jenny. I would say I'm happy with the project I'm working on, the lab, my supervisor, my school, the opportunities that I've got from being a master's student. We say education is the greatest form of exposure. So I do believe it's been quite interesting, and the community I've built over here, even meeting people like Delali, Ahimfie group, and yeah, it's been quite interesting. You come to a country without knowing anyone, and it's like you, in one way or the other, have like a family, and you are here to school. You are being exposed to different opportunities that you would have got if probably you were in maybe your home country, and all those stuff. And then your knowledge and skill sets you are gaining in terms of looking forward to your career and all those stuffs. I would say it's been an awesome journey. You may have some one or two down.
I keep on losing Dennis. I don't know why. Let me just try and get him back. Okay, so I'm trying to get Dennis back online, but let me just answer Mark Brown's question. I don't know if you can hear me. Please, if you can hear the sound, you can kindly just leave a comment for me in the comment section if you can hear me very clearly. Yeah.
I think I'll join you from my phone now. I don't know what was happening to the network or the laptop, but now I could hear you clearly. Yeah, so
Okay.
to just
Can you hear me
conclude what
clearly
I
now?
was saying, you said?
Can you hear me clearly now?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. To conclude what I was saying, I would say the benefits outweighs the costs in terms of what I'll get out of this. It's been a great experience as an international student in Canada. I would encourage everyone, if they get the opportunity, to pursue it. And particularly if you have a plan in terms of your career, where you want to get to on your own ladder, it will really help you.
Okay. From the beginning, looking at all the background information you gave, it seems you were doing well in Ghana. You were fine because you mentioned you had about like 150,000 in your account. You were using a car. Do you regret leaving Ghana and coming to Canada?
I came to Canada with a purpose, and I'm still on the right trajectory in achieving that. So I don't regret leaving home, although I do miss home sometimes. My mom, my sisters, but I have no regrets leaving Ghana to Canada. Ghana will always be home, but we are in home away from home.
Okay. So there has been a whole lot of changes to the Canadian immigration system. Introduction of the CAP system, whereby each province are given required numbers. They have to like issue attestation letters for the various institutions, that's the colleges and universities in Canada. There are a whole lot of denials now when you look at the system. Will you say it's still worth it to apply for a Canada visa, or people should just forget about Canada and look at other countries?
Categorically, I would say yes. If you still want to travel overseas, be it Canada, US, anywhere, let me just focus on Canada with this answer. I would say yes. If you ask me why, I'll specifically tell you that every country is developing their country based on their needs and their interests. The CAP systems and staff have been brought to be able to remove some redundant programs from the system. You understand? The immigration officers don't see the reason why you should come and study programs that won't bring any substantive growth into their own system. So they are asking the schools to prioritize programs that would produce researchers or economists or people that are going to, in one way or the other, help or support their economic growth. And if you are in your country and you want to go pursue further studies so that it will help you or it will be the catalyst to the next step of your journey, you should be looking at pursuing something that would come with some lots of benefits. Specifically, I do believe all these things, caps and other things, have been brought to be able to curb stuff like people using school opportunities to just enter the system and not actually pursuing their studies. For example, if you've won a scholarship to come and study engineering, computer science, and many other programs, I do believe if you come, you will be happy. You want to actually pursue that because it's part of your career. But if you are coming into the country, I don't want to list any program. Someone will say maybe you are program shaming. No. But if you're just coming to do, some people just apply for some opportunity just to be able to enter the country. So these are the many reasons why they are bringing in these measures. Not necessarily only Ghanaians. It cuts across Nigerians, Indians, and the likes. They are trying to cut these sort of like redundant programs that people are using just to enter the economy or system.
Okay.
So if you want to pursue your school, you are actually interested in coming to school, graduate studies, PhD, master, diploma, certificate to obtain a skill that will help you in your career, and it is a field where you know you will be allowed to get in, please come.
Okay. I know because of the huge amount of money you had in funding, 60,000 Canadian dollars. I know for sure you're not working in Canada, if I'm right.
I've been in Canada for close to 2 years. By God's grace, I'm not working.
Okay, but you've heard stories of people who are working and they are schooling.
Yes,
some of them might be your friends. How
Perfect.
true is it that when you don't get funding, let's say you are coming in for a bachelor's, a diploma, a certificate program, mostly a postgraduate diploma, a graduate certificate, mostly these programs don't have funding. How true is it that I can work and pay my fees?
There's a very interesting question. Let me answer it this way. Recently, a friend contacted me that I've got admission into a school. I have a loan for my first year from Empower. And my second year, my plan is to work and pay. What advice would you give me to such a person? Then I asked the person, if you come into Canada, how would you be offsetting the loan? And he says, oh, but I'll get a work. So what if you don't get a work? And all those things. One, I will not say you cannot work in school. However, you should also consider that the kind of work you are coming to do in Canada here, you have sort of like, you're a bit limited. As an international student, presently, you're only allowed to work 24 hours a week. Okay. So within this 24 hours a week, if you are going to look for a job, the jobs are looking for people who can actually even do full-time. The jobs that students do, most of the jobs are looking for people that will do full-time. So one, getting the jobs presents some form of like challenge to you over there. Let's say you get an opportunity to work and the job demands that you come full-time. Are you going to neglect your classes and go and work? How then are you going to be able to pass your exams? Schools here are giving you assignments week in, week out. You understand? You are churning in your assignments, new ones are coming. You are combining this with studies. It is not impossible, but it is very, very also difficult to do. But then in this life, like I always say, you should have a plan. Let's put the question across that. So what if you come and within your first maybe 6 months to 1 year, you've not even got a job? Because it actually happens that people are here and some have still not got jobs.
You are very right.
You understand. So you have to actually plan. The advice I give to people is it will be better that you have your foundation or your legs on probably, let's say, your first year, let's say all your tuition is cleared, or or you have money for your first year fees, then while you navigate the system and you start doing some small jobs, you'll be able to save something for your second year. Even with that, let me tell you, I've helped people come to Canada here, and some have left the school after year one.
Why?
Why? They were able to pay their fees. Me, before I even do visa for you, I make you pay some of your fees. They were able to pay their fees and they've come into Canada. After their, not even year one, after paying first semester fees and finishing the first semester, their plan was, oh, during the first semester, I'll work and get money to pay the second semester. They couldn't get work. They got work, but they couldn't save enough because you were paying your rent, you have to eat, your phone bills, and many other bills. They couldn't save enough money to be able to pay the second semester fees. So they've actually abandoned the program.
Wow.
These are people I know. So I'm telling you, like, based on real experiences and not like hearsay.
Yes,
You
okay.
understand? So the ideas in the minds of, oh, if you travel abroad, you can work and you can pay your fees. It's not as easy as people make you think. These TikTokers and bloggers, sometimes people ask me why I don't do this blogging, and I'm not actually not interested in those kind of stuff. We'll use this means, like you've given us this platform to share, and the people who will pick from it will pick from it. Those who contact us personally, we see how best we help them and all those stuff. So you hear you can do it, but on the ground, it is not as it is. The people who were able to navigate this time during the periods of probably the 2014s, 15s, where the system was not so choked and they actually needed people to work on all those things, it was quite flexible to be able to do these things. But now it's actually very tight. If you go against the policy of working 24 hours a week, it affects any other application you decide to do in the country, like applying for your postgraduate work permit. I have seen with my eyes students that have been denied postgraduate work permits, and currently some are considering asylum and many other things to be able to maintain their status in the system. Why? Because it was clearly stated that you were doing over 40 hours a week. You understand? So if you go against the system, it will go against you also. You might not see the consequences now, but maybe in the future, you can even get your permanent residency. One time you try to go and apply for maybe citizenship, and they will refer you back that we made a mistake with probably your first application, which denied you. So we are referring you to that and we are going to deny you. This is how their system is. They keep records of everything, and you don't know when they will use something you did against you. So I tell people that respecting the conditions of your study permit is very, very important. So this school and work thing, I often tell people, I don't think it's feasible. So the best is have at least your 1 year fees and your 1 year living expenses. Then we pray to God you get some opportunities to navigate your second year if you are doing a 2-year program. If you are doing a 1 year program, which has 2 semesters, have your first semester and your rent and everything covered. And we hopefully, if you are able to navigate and also still rely on support from back home. Thank you.
Okay, that was very, very, very insightful. But you talking about getting your 1 year fees and 1 year living expenses. We know currently the living expenses is around 20,635 Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
And let's say your first year fees is around, let's say, 15,000 or 16,000. Even that one is very cheap because you can get as high as 20 something thousand.
20 something thousand, yeah.
So we are looking around 350,000 Ghana cedis and above.
Yeah.
People don't have this money lying down back home.
Yeah, so that is true.
So what are some of the strategies they can use to also get in and not ditch the school, but when they get in, they'll still continue the school, finish, get their postgraduate work permit, and whatever they want to do here, or whether they want to return back home, they can return back home. A quick one.
Delali, that's a very good question. This brings me to the point of choosing a very good program that when you finish school, one, you are going to get like a good employment so that you'll be able to hopefully get some returns in your investment. One, there are people that have sold properties and stuff to be able to come here. Two, there are people that have used Empower loan system to be able to come in school. And I tell people that if you go for such options like, let's say, an Empower loan to be able to come in school is a very good option. Just make sure you are coming into a program that when you finish school, you get a job, that you'll be able to offset these loans that you've taken. There are people that family have added 1 or 2, supported them to come. So they finish, they will get a job and pay back and all those kind of stuff. It's not wrong. If you don't have the money there, you can, like, education has, like Canada, even if you are 40 years, you can come in school and all those things. I always say it is better to prepare very well than to come here and become stranded. There are many students recently, if you see the trends on X or Twitter, or even between the Ghanaian communities and communications, you see the trend on increase in asylum from students. And Ghana is on the map that a lot of Ghanaian students come in and they go seek asylum. These are some of the reasons that caused that they were not fully or readily prepared before they came in terms of like the finances and all those stuff. This is a country where you can't come and do, landlord, please, it's tomorrow, I'll give you my rent money. No, the month is up, you have to pay. Your tuition, they are taking it or they are withdrawing you from the system and all those stuff. So will it be worth it if you don't have the funds and you want to come? Then the first question would be, how do you even want to come if you don't have the funds and you actually want to come? Unless, I always tell people that sometimes people are not happy with me if I say this, that whatever someone's do, it is pre-planned. Someone will actually tell, oh, I'm coming to Canada to come and school, help me do the visa, and all that, I'll pay my fees. But they actually know if I enter the system, no, I'm going for asylum. They have already planned it because they've heard it from their friends or others have told them, oh, you can come, you seek asylum. They'll give you, like, by the time they will rule your case, you would have worked for 2 years. They'll give you work permits. Then after they will rule your case, you can even appeal and you get extra 1 year. And if even that one card is still won't listen, you can go for humanitarian reason. So this will stick into someone's ears. The person can even go and take a loan and use to do the school process and enter the system. And when they come, they've already, like he has to pay back all those loans. So Charlie quickly go for the asylum, start working, start paying back the loans and all those things. But when the consequences begin to hit you up and probably, let's say, they send you back home, you'll be like, oh, Boga is back in town and all those stuff. So yes, I would say if you don't have the funds, that is why I advocate that you finish school with good grades so you can have the capacity to apply for scholarships in the universities. So if you are a final year undergrad student, you are hearing us, finish school with good grades so you can get opportunities for scholarships. So you wouldn't have to go through the route where you have to pay huge sums of tuition. Also, don't make Canada only the goal. There are schools in Sweden, SI scholarship is there. We have some scholarships people don't like. It's called the KGSP, Korea Government Scholarship Program. I nearly went for that thing. You can go around, you go to Korea, you go and school there. I have friends that went to Korea and they are now in the US. So shouldn't.
The program is public policy also, if I'm right.
KGSP, it has like, I think there are even different programs also inside, not only, but public policy is one of them. Yeah. Okay. So there are some hidden scholarships people don't go for because everyone's attention is on Canada and US. You can chart your path through those ones. There's the Denmark government scholarship. There's the Sweden one, as I mentioned. There's even some in Poland. Those times when I was exploring, Charlie, I was looking everywhere. I was looking at everywhere. And my goal was medical school, I won't pay. That was my plan. So I had to. So you can also be like me now. You can search vigorously. You can finish your final year with good grades. Make those. There are people from K University who I know have got straight PhD to mathematics in the US. You can be doing a program you might think there's no funding for. There's almost funding for every program. Even people studying film, movie studies and all. There's full funding for programs like this. You understand? You have to search.
Yeah. Okay. Talking about asylum, I didn't want to talk about it on my channel, but once you've mentioned it, I want to ask a quick question. Do you know of anyone who has gone for asylum and has failed and they've deported the person back to Ghana?
I know 2 Nigerians because they were in Montreal here. Specifically, okay. A Ghanaian. The Ghanaians I know who have got for asylum now, they've not ruled their cases yet. If they have ruled their cases, maybe then they've not updated me yet. But I interact with a lot of them. These are some positions because we should find ourselves in. We get to speak to many of them. There are many who they are even as how best they would respond to their questions when they go for their hearing and all those stuff. So we get to interact with many of them. And from a personal side, I actually hope it ends well for them because, like, no one knows tomorrow. You don't know the situation you can find yourself in. You might be sitting in this chair today. Tomorrow, you might be the one in need and all those stuff. So I don't have any issue against anyone who decides to do what they think will be best for them. So I actually even wish them the best that they get their documentations if they go through that route. So yeah, I don't know any Ghanaian that has been deported so far. What we've all heard is story, but I know 2 Nigerians specifically because they were here in Montreal. And then, as I mentioned, the Ghanaians I know, there were a few who told me, "Oh, Dan, my case is this year. My case is this year." I'm hoping I get to hear from them after their case, so that we'll be able to advise others when they decide to take those paths.
Okay. So if you are watching us now, we are live on the Delali Network on YouTube, on Twitter, that is X, and on Facebook. We have over 300 plus people watching us now. And don't forget to subscribe to the Delali Network, our YouTube channel. Don't forget to recommend this page to a friend who is interested in studying abroad, because we always bring you insightful sessions. We always share insightful content. And our goal is for you to do it yourself, DIY, do it yourself. We don't want you to fall in the hands of unscrupulous agents who will take your money and spend and lie to you. Some of them even edit biometric letters. And when you go to the biometric center, they will tell you that, oh, you can't have your biometrics because it's a fake letter, just to take money from you. So let's continue. Myra Paki says, impactful session here. And she has again texted that thanks to the host and the guest speaker. Myra, thank you very much for watching. Now let's come to living expenses in Canada. As an international student, roughly, how much do you think I'll spend in a month in terms of rent, in terms of food, in terms of phone bills, in terms of other minor expenses? In total, how much should I be looking at when I'm planning my Canadian journey?
So, with respect to that, this is where the differences in provinces come into play, and then the taste of the person. So, because someone, let me use for example, ladies will prefer to live in very, uh, very good accommodations that are available, and some don't like sharing, some like sharing, and all these stuffs. But if you ask me to talk on the average, let me just use, let's say, Toronto, for example. Why I'm choosing Toronto is because even I know rents in places like Nova Scotia can even be higher than these places. So let's say on the average, someone living in Toronto is paying rent of 900 a month, or let's say even 800 a month. Your feeding, and if you are someone who would cook at home and be moderate, you spend close to like 150 to 250 on groceries on every month. You pay your phone bills of around, let's say, 50 every month. That's if you've not going to take any new phone and you have your own phone from back home. So these three sum up to like 1,300 already. And then
Cities or Canadian dollars.
in Canadian dollars, sorry. So that's like 1,300 already. And maybe you go to church, or if you don't go to church, you are a Muslim, and maybe you just give some alms, and let's say $20 a month for that one too. And then what else could I add? So I've covered rent, your feeding, your phone bill, and maybe your transportation. Transportation is also very critical in this country. So maybe transportation is like, let's say, bus pass of, let's say, let's leave it at, let's say, $50. And so roughly you are looking at, let's say, 1,400 per month if you are an average spender. So that is, if you convert that to CDs, you are nearing close to like 15,500 Ghana cedis a month. This is the amount you are roughly going to spend if you are living on the average in somewhere like, let's say, Toronto. So if you are in a place where it is quite cheap, maybe your rent will be like 600. So roughly you'll be spending around 1,000 in this range. So let's leave it at you got a very cheap rent at a cool place, and you are spending 1,000 Canadian dollars every month. So
Oh, I don't know why. I think yeah. Can you finish it quickly?
yeah. So I'm like, so on the average, you are spending, let's say, 10,000 Ghana cedis a month. Then you ask yourself, if you are not working and all those stuff, how are you going to support yourself? Or if you're not getting any support from back home to be paying 10,000 cedis every month, how are you going to survive?
Okay. So, what has been your best experience so far as an international student in Canada?
Academically, I would say getting opportunities to showcase my work in the international front. My school has given me, or my research with my professor has given me opportunities to travel outside of Canada and all. And that was awesome. You got to meet people that you had never dreamt of that you meet. But through these opportunities, you've got that. And the work I'm doing is something that is very impactful. It's going to be used by the Canadian government, so I'm very proud of that too. And the opportunities to meet new people, I won't take that away. I've got to meet some special people being here, so maybe coming here was also all part of that.
So you spoke about you getting the opportunity to travel. Did you
Yeah.
pay out of pocket or you traveled for free? And to which countries did you travel to?
I traveled for free. I've been to the US twice. All was paid for. God being so good. I'll be going to Italy this year. That is also fully paid. And yeah.
So all thanks to the power of graduate school and education.
Correct.
So education is never a scam,
No.
as people used to say.
The path to success, everyone has theirs. If yours is through education, please pursue it aggressively.
Okay. And what has been your worst experience so far as an international student?
I think when I got to Canada, I lost my granny. She was very special to me. I was not there. I missed her funeral. Thank you. I missed her funeral. And I think a few times, like you are down spirited. You ask yourself, oh, how are things going to work out? Life after school, what is going to happen? And you begin to think of these things. Sometimes your spirit goes down. But you have to be your own first motivator. You have to motivate yourself and pick yourself up and look forward to what is ahead of you and what you can achieve. And I do believe you will make it. You just have to keep on working hard, obtaining the necessary skills that are required, and things will work out. So in terms of downside, yeah, probably sometimes missing your family and people who are special to you.
Okay. But in Canada, what has been your worst experience so far as an international student? Or you only have good memories?
Worst experience as an international student. Me, Dennis, I would say, one, I've not had any issues since I've been in the country. Could you give me an example of what people will say, oh, these have been their worst?
Something came to you as a cultural shock and it was your worst experience?
Do you know, if you ask me this, do you know what I'll say? Anytime I go for programs in this country, where we travel out our school, they'll just be giving us bread and salad as lunch.
What do you want? You want to go back or banku?
Oh, they should give me some African, give me some fufu and give me some gobe and some banku and oh, Charlie. So they should give me some soups and then you go everywhere you go, they just lunchtime, you're happy you're going to go there, it is just bread and salad.
Okay, so coming to the food here in Canada, how are you able to survive or navigate through, especially the Canadian dishes? Do you get African dishes as well, or you only try to get used to the Canadian dishes here?
I do believe they say if you go to Rome, you do what the Romans do. As human, you should be also interested in like exploring diverse cultures and not just only your culture. Coming to Canada, I've come to appreciate and like some Indian cuisines, some Canadian cuisines. Quebec specifically, like their meal is like turkey and fries. I also get the opportunity to like buy ingredients from these African shops that are available and prepare my own meal. I love to cook, so I make my own soups and meal, and I enjoy it. And aside that, too, what will I add? There are a few African restaurants around that also serve Ghanaian meals. So if you can't cook, you could purchase them, but no, it will be expensive. So you would have to cut your quota according to your pockets. Yeah. So with that, I think where I live, in my community, there are few African shops where you could get African foods to buy, and yeah.
Okay. So Myra Pecky wants an answer or a response to this question. She says, please, is it possible to get admission to University of Alberta to study public health with an education certificate? What degree certificate will I be awarded, please?
Mara, I appreciate your question very much. I can answer this question specifically because I know a lot about Alberta, and particularly that public health program.
Okay.
If you go to the University of Alberta website and you look under the public health has its distinct sections. They have environmental public health, they have epidemiology, they have about 9 different sections of public health, and there is public health education on there.
Okay.
There is health informatics on there. I know it because I've helped some people through that route. So Myra, what I'll just tell you to do is to go to the University of Alberta page, look at their graduate programs. When you see the public health, click it and you see under it, they have like about 9 different sections of public health, because public health has the education side, it has the real medical side, it has the global public health side. There are different types of public health, and what you are asking fits in one of them. Thank you.
Okay. So then it's a quick one. What are some of the schools you can mention that our listeners and followers should look out for in case they are researching on Canadian institutions for, let's say, their undergraduates, their masters, their PhD, their diplomas, their certificates? What are some institutions they should look out for? Let's say in terms of less tuition, in terms of good cost of living, if you can mention some few schools so that they'll notice.
One, I'll always go for schools that will give you diverse opportunities. And I would relate this answer for people to choose the under 15 schools in Canada. Okay. When we say the under 15, the U15 schools are schools that are largely funded by the government of Canada. And notable among them, McGill, U of T, Alberta, Saskatchewan, McMaster, and U of Manitoba, and there are a total of 15 schools. The way we call them the under 15. So you can just put it in Google, the under 15 schools in Canada. Now, one thing that people don't know is that, I should go to the college to pursue a postgraduate certificate program in this field. But the universities also do postgraduate certificate programs. The universities also do diploma programs like the colleges are doing. So instead of going for it at the college, why don't you go for it at the university? I know McGill is doing a graduate certificate program in marketing for like 12,000 Canadian dollars a year, but people don't know these opportunities.
And that's actually very cheap.
That is cheaper than what the colleges are doing. You understand? So the universities also have graduate diploma. They also have graduate certificates. They also have postgraduate certificate programs. But people think those programs are just for the colleges. You understand? And the colleges charge very high. But those programs that I've mentioned in the universities will have lesser tuition than you see in the colleges. So if you are someone, don't think we say university doesn't mean it is just people who are going to do masters and PhD. No. There are universities doing postgraduate certificate programs and all these other programs you see in the colleges. You understand? And one thing I've realized is the university ones are cheaper than the college ones because most people don't know the universities are also doing that. Yeah. So that is what I'll say about that.
Okay.
And in terms of cheap, how cheap and those things, one, if you are going to a place that is cheap, cheapness is relative. It comes not just tuition, but even accommodation, living expense in that area. So Canada, we know most of the expensive sites are, let's say, British Columbia, where we have Vancouver. Then we have the main Toronto downtown area. But if you are going to places in the Alberta, is quite cheap. Montreal is even quite cheap.
How much do you pay for rent in Montreal?
You want my landlord to increase my rent, eh? My landlord, please hope you are not listening. Anyway, my side, I think my rent I pay 500 Canadian dollars, and my room is quite large.
That's
I,
cheap.
I don't want to show my room, but my room is very big. My room is quite large.
Okay.
And our apartment here is very cool, cozy, in a cool setting environment. We are close by the lake. We have enjoy a very cool, serene. So Montreal is quite cheap also. So cheapness is quite relative. You, the person, I always say it's your taste. And yeah.
Okay. And I think the U of the under 15 schools, we have University of Waterloo as well. I
Yeah.
think University of
Ottawa,
Toronto,
Ottawa
and,
too. University of
and
Ottawa.
my own
Carleton.
school, University of Manitoba,
Yeah.
is also there. Yeah. So Myra has another question. She says, please, what programs will you recommend to someone that wants to remain in Canada to work after completing your program?
All right, Myra. At present, you first have to look at the in-demand programs in the country. In-demand programs are what programs the economies of the country are looking to fill. If you are someone in the STEM, that science, technology, environment, I think the mathematics, the M probably. If you are someone in that field, you can like cut across diverse fields and you get opportunities across. If you are not someone in that field and you are looking at other programs, me personally, I recommend people to go for programs where you can get job easily, like those in the computer sciences, technology, people who are even studying these AIs and stuff, because the world is going digital, industrial, and or you could also look at specific courses in the health areas where you are looking at programs like laboratory technologies, clinical assistant, like typical health programs. Most of you, when you say health programs, people think you are talking about care. No, there are critical health, informatics, data analysis, statistics, and all these stuffs that you could get jobs in the government agencies and industries in the country. So if you take away health, you take away STEM, you could also look at construction.
Education is there.
Yeah, construction, you talk about building managers, site supervisors, health and safety people, and those things. Then you come to the education aspect here, they hire people as early childhood educators. You go to the higher up level, you have like education administrators and all those stuff. Then you have even teachers. You just come inside, you get certified and all those things, and there will be opportunity for you too. So Myra, I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Okay. And Myra is saying that, and please, can I have your social media handles if that's fine by you? And she says, we'd love to have
I'm on X
with you.
I'm on X too, but best if you want to find me is on LinkedIn. You just type my name, Dennis Dankwa on LinkedIn, and you'll see me. On X too is Dennis Dankwa. On Facebook is Dennis Dankwa.
Dennis Dankwa. So I'm just sharing it now.
Yeah, my Dankwa is DANKWA. Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes. So if you put my name on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, I think you should be able to see me easily.
Okay. So if you want to connect with our guest speaker, just type his name. I've projected it on our screen. Dennis Dankwa, and reach out to him, and he will be ready to. Are you actually open to like mentor more people who want to study in Canada?
I'm doing my best. I think for largely we do through the Study in Canada group, just so you could, when you share one information to get to the masses, just so that probably one question about 10 people have it, but instead of going to solve or attend to each individual differently, you'd just do it once. And once a while we do this like you're having. Once a while we do Zoom and other stuff for them to address many of their questions. Sometimes I just do an open platform Zoom, just so people will just be asking questions they have, and we try our best to solve. We get busy sometimes with school, so we'll plead just so people, if you have specific questions, that will help, and not just the general stuff. It also help us sometimes, you know, because
Okay.
if you commit to helping people, sometimes you can get so bombarded and a whole lot.
So after the meeting, I'll get the links for them so that they can join the Telegram group as you advised, so that we take things from there. Okay, you'll be finishing school this year, hopefully, right?
It's in God's hands, but yeah, this year.
Okay. In your visa application, you told the visa officer that you'll be going back home. That is why you had home ties in your visa application. which
Did,
were
did,
patterned.
did you apply with me?
I know the format for Canadian visa application. You surely
Mhm.
need to put in your home
Show your
ties.
home ties. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which you spoke about that there are factors that are going to bring you back home after your
That
program.
that is correct.
Okay, so when you're done with school, are you going back to Ghana or you still want to explore the system here? And if yes, after school, what are some of the opportunities you have to stay here legally but not illegally?
I'm grateful for the Canadian immigration system that has given me an opportunity that if I finish school, I shouldn't leave immediately, but I should see how best I could also contribute to their system by offering me the opportunity to get a postgraduate work permit. That if I have schooled here, they are giving an opportunity that I should at least contribute something from the knowledge and skills I've got through job opportunities within a period of 3 years if I schooled for 2 years, which I have. So after school, I'll be getting an opportunity to have a 3-year postgraduate work permit.
Okay.
And it is within those 3 years that I'll be able to navigate the next steps of my career as to whether I would still stay in academia or I would go into the industry or, yeah. So specifically after school, I'm considering between these two, whether to take the academic path or go into the industrial path. So if you're asking me personally, that is what I intend to do. So after school, I'll apply for my postgraduate work permit. And when it comes, we will see the next steps.
Okay. If you are watching us now, we'll be wrapping up this meeting very soon. So if you have any clarifications or questions, kindly leave them in the comment section so that we'll project it. Dennis can have a look at it and respond to it before we close the session. Talking about the postgraduate work permit, is it automatic that once I'm done with school, I get a postgraduate work permit, or there are processes or procedures I have to observe whilst in school so that when I'm done with school, I can put in the application and get an approval?
The postgraduate work permit is not automatic because there have been instances where people have been denied. When you apply for the postgraduate work permit, it is actually based on merit. They look at one, your grades. That's why they request for your transcripts. They want to actually see if you were in school and you passed. Recently, if you look at the rules that they brought, they said if you were in a college, you should get above CLB of 5, if I'm correct. Yeah. And if you finish school in a university, you have to write a language test and get a CLB of 7 and above. So imagine you are not actually studying and all, and you write and you don't get these grades, then they can practically deny you and say you were not actually a student, you were just in the system. Secondly, they look at your grades and see whether you performed very well academically. Some people were denied because they had poor grades in school, and this is a fact and not a hearsay. Then lastly, they specifically consider if you've not violated any conditions in your study permit, such as working beyond the 24 hours per week, which they've designated for students. And I think these are the major criteria they look at for awarding the postgraduate work permits. And also they look at the length of your study, so that if you studied for 2 years, you get 3 years. If you study for 1 year, you get 1 year. If you did a 1+1, that's 2 years, so you still get 3 years.
And the new changes is if you studied a 1-year master's, you can still get a 3 years postgraduate work permit. So sometimes if you are contemplating on whether coming in for a 1-year master's, yes, you can come in for a 1-year master's, and after school, once you meet the requirement, you can get a 3-year postgraduate work permit. But when it's a 1-year program, which is undergraduate, you only get a 1-year postgraduate work permit. And we always recommend that you come for a 2-year program or more than a 2-year program, so that when you're done with school, you can get at least a 3 years postgraduate work permit. If you don't have the money, as Dennis mentioned, you can do what we call the 1+1. You could do a 1-year program. When you are done, you do another 1-year program. You have a 3-year study now, then you can apply for a 3-year postgraduate work permit. Now, talking about the postgraduate work permit, after the 3 years, is it possible that they can renew it for me? Or maybe within the 3 years, I have to try and navigate through the system and apply for what we call the PR, which is the permanent residency, if you can touch briefly on that.
So postgraduate work permit is a once in a lifetime application. You have to do it within 180 days of your study permit expiry of you completing school. and you do it, you have the opportunity to do it just once in your lifetime. So it's non-renewable. Recently, when we came to Canada, it was renewed for, I think, the 2022 year group, that year period. Those people had an 18-month extension, which was something that never happens. It's just a once in a while something. So just have at the back of your mind that if you have your postgraduate work permit and it's 3 years, after 3 years is done. And within that 3 years, you now have to navigate the system and be able to put yourself in a good position to get permanent residency. One thing about the Canadian permanent residency is like if you work for over 1,500 hours, which is equivalent to approximately a full-time work of 35 hours per week of 1 year. And if you're able to do that and you get your 1,500 hours, you qualify for many opportunities in the permanent residency application systems through the express entries and provincial nominations and other stuff, and Canadian experience class and many, many others. I think that's the focus for today. Maybe another time we'll discuss those ones. But yeah, that's why we advise people to at least try and get a 3-year postgraduate work permit. Imagine that you have your 1 year school and you only get, let's say, 1 year postgraduate work permit. Immediately that 1 year ends, automatically you are out of status and you would have to like go back to your country and try to apply for permanent residence when you are back home and all those stuffs. Or if you get a good job where the company can help you get a closed work permit and all those stuff, you can look out for those opportunities. But just to be in a safe zone, to be good if you have like a 3-year period and you can, because it could even be you finish school your first year, you even get a job. So if you have 3 years there, at least within this period, you should get something and you should be able to navigate your permanent residence.
Okay. How true is it that when I come to Canada with a visitor's visa, I can easily get a work permit when I come with a visitor's visa to Canada?
It is a hearsay. It is I would say it's a fallacy. It's a false statement. One, if you're on a visitor's visa, you are not supposed to work. That is what the country says. If you're on a visitor's visa, you are not supposed to work. So what do you then come and say, if I'm on visitor's visa, I can transition to a work permit? You understand? Some people have, I know someone who came here with that assumption. The person came, have been trying to get a job. So you don't get a job, then what happens? You understand. So let us just stop throwing dust into people's eyes, particularly these travel bloggers and these agents and all those stuffs. Many people have landed with visitors visas and they are stranded at airports. Some even said the agent said he booked hotel for them and all those kind of stuff. Let us try to move away from all these and as individuals read more and find out information for ourselves. Okay. The system says if you come as a visitor's visa, one, you can't work. You are a visitor. Come and visit and go back. You can't even open a bank account. See how critical it is if you are on the type of status you are on in the country. So how then do you transition? If you come here, unfortunately, maybe you get them. Let me tell you what people do. They come in with visit visa. There are some school programs in this country that you can do that you don't need a study permit. You can even do them if you're on visitor's visa. So then they now go do those programs. They get some certifications, and some even then apply for study permits and all those, and then they transition. But the people won't actually tell you the main truth, that they transition directly from a visitor's visa to a work permit. Okay, I have not heard that.
Okay. So touching on the postgraduate work permit you mentioned, the PGWP, is it every school at all that one has to apply to, or every program at all that one has to apply to, or there are specific schools or specific programs that one has to look at when the person is targeting getting a postgraduate work permit after school? If you can briefly touch on that. And I'll take my last 2 questions, then we call it a day.
This is a very critical aspect of when you are even intending to come into Canada. So initially we were talking about how you plan very well research schools. Now, due to the caps and everything that they've brought, there are certain programs that do not qualify for you to get this postgraduate work permit. If you come into a school and you learn those programs, when you finish learning, you just pack your bags and you go back home. So So if you are coming into a school, first research into the school and the program and the DLI and all those things to check whether one, the school is qualified to offer you the required documentations for you to one, get stuff like your postgraduate work permits. One, the school is DLI recognized and all those stuff, because some schools have been taken off the list, you understand? So when you check all these things and you look at now the programs of the school, some programs in the same school, some programs can qualify, some programs cannot qualify. So if it is your intention to get a postgraduate work permit and work after school, then you would have to go for programs that actually qualify for those postgraduate work permits.
Okay. Thank you very much for this critical clarification. Mara is asking, can one get to teach as an early childhood teacher with a degree in primary education, please?
Teaching in Canada has certification bodies that have to certify you first. If you come to Ghana and you are a teacher, we see, like in Ghana, there's a difference between someone who is a teacher and someone who has a degree in education. Like this school in Ghana, University of Education in Winnipeg, they train people to become have degrees in education, but not primarily teachers. You understand? So if you have actually gone to a teacher training and you are certified as a teacher and you come into this country, you can go through the process of recognizing your certifications from Ghana as a teacher, and then you'll be certified as a teacher. Then you can use that certification now to apply for teaching opportunities in these schools. And they would also prefer people who have had experience teaching kids, particularly this early childhood that you are talking about, because it is teaching kids. So they would prefer people who have had experiences teaching kids. So you can even have this certification. Then when you come into the country, you go take a program like an early childhood teacher program. Then you study the program. Then you can combine the program and your teaching experience with your certifications to get a job in that field. Thank you.
And just to add, in most of the provinces here as well, you need to apply for their teacher's license and you need to be approved. So if you don't have the license, you can only work as what we call teaching assistants. You play a support role to the main teachers in the classroom. So if you are planning to come and teach here, it's a very nice profession, a good one. It pays well. As Dennis advised, do what he has said and also get a license, and you can be allowed to teach in the country. Dennis, delving into your personal life, just a quick one. Are you married?
I'm not married.
Okay. Will you consider marrying a Canadian lady or an African lady? Yes or no? If yes, why?
I think your question needs some form of clarity, but let me just answer it this way. Because if you say a Canadian lady, an African lady can also become a Canadian lady. An African lady who is a Canadian.
Let me clarify. A Canadian who is not an African. Will you like to marry a Canadian who is not an African, or you like to marry an African?
I would say I am open to everything. I am someone who embraces culture. I'm very diverse. I'm a tolerable person. I relate to people very well. There's no harm in learning new cultures, but it's also very helpful. The key things in marriage is having an understanding and respect for each other. So it is not necessarily based on the culture of the person, but if the core values of respect and understanding between one another are within two people. Even the Bible says, unless two people agree, they cannot work together. So I do believe it is about these values. If these values are there, it is not necessarily about whether the person is a Canadian or an African or a Japanese or this. For me personally, that is what I would say.
Okay. Finally, what would be your general advice to people who are now planning to come and study abroad, be it Canada, be it any other part of the world? What are the things they have to do right from the onset so that they can get it right? Because we all know that getting your visa approved starts right from the beginning. That is the school application. Yeah. If things don't go right there, things might go wrong during the visa application. So what would be your general advice?
To conclude what we've discussed, I would say have a purpose and have a goal, set achievable targets and work towards them. If you are about finishing school, you should be considering, as we mentioned, perform very well. Your parents are funding you, paying your fees, make them proud with some good grades, and then you can now navigate your advanced studies. Even for some people, if you perform very well, your parents are so happily to support you to continue your school. I know parents who are pushing their kids to do PhDs, their kids to become doctors, their kids to become lawyers, engineers, because they say, "Oh, if my child goes far in academic life, it will help them and all those things." So one, be focused in life, have a purpose, commit to your, I would say like your belief. If you're a Christian or you're a Muslim or you're a traditionalist, commit to your beliefs, stay focused in life, set targets as a young person, work effortlessly to achieve them. And I do believe if someone has made it, you can also make it. I think Kofi Annan once made a statement that like you are not too young to achieve something. So never doubt your own capacity to be able to lead as a young person. So just see yourself as a leader and work your way up there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my good brother Dennis. It has been a very insightful and educative discussion for over 2 hours and 30 minutes now. I appreciate your time. My followers, my listeners appreciate your time. We are very grateful for the massive information that has been shared out here. And we advise that all our followers and listeners who are planning to study abroad, they should put some of this information into practice and just look at the magic that is going to come out of it. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, the Delali Network. Don't forget to recommend my pages on Facebook, on Twitter, that is X, and on TikTok to anyone who is interested in studying abroad. I use my time with my team to provide free information at no cost for everyone. We try to spend time to research, to get accurate information. We don't want to sugarcoat things for you, but we come to you with the real truth, with practical discussions, people who have succeeded in this journey, so that when you're also putting in the work, you will know which steps to take. Thank you for joining, and I'll say have a lovely day. Take care and bye-bye.
Bye.